So, hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Morgan Aguilar, Communications Specialist at University Marketing and Communications. And today we are joined by John Marfield. He is our new Executive Director of Admissions. We can still say new because he just joined at the end of July. So spent little time on campus, started at our institution at kind of a crazy time for sure. But we're so excited to have you here today because you have an exciting update for us. Tell us what that is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for allowing me to talk about this. I'm really excited about this change to our admission process. So the update that we have is that we are expanding our test optional policy that we started earlier in the summer to not just be applicable to admissions, but also to scholarships and direct admissions. So we're going to be able to evaluate applications for admission and for scholarships and direct admission without having to look at test scores. And so it'll be optional for students to submit them.
Okay, so great. And so we decided to what brought about this decision to expand it. We talked a lot about why we initially went test optional for general admission a few months ago, but tell us why we decided to expand it, as well as who's going to benefit the most from that change.
Yeah, so when we first thought of the policy, we were really responding to this national trend, which was a lot of schools were going test optional because in the age of COVID-19, the coronavirus, so many ACT and SAT test sites were being closed down, and students were really having a hard time finding a place and a time to take the test. As we are leading up into the fall, students were getting really concerned, and we were trying to figure out a way to be able to fairly evaluate these students for admission, maybe without using the test score. And there were some schools out there who have been test optional for many years. And so many other schools this summer started saying this is a great opportunity for us to provide access to admissions for people who simply cannot take the test. And so when we went test optional this summer, we were going test optional, but just for admissions, not for scholarships or direct admission, because initially we thought, this is all going to blow over, right?
Didn't we all think that? Yeah.
Right? So it'll be fine. We'll, by the time we get to the fall, more test sites will be available. It'll be easier for people to take the test. And people will still have plenty of time to get that in so they can be considered for scholarships later on. But the exact opposite has happened, unfortunately. And so it's been even more difficult for students to sign up for an ACT or SAT exam date. They're being canceled in advance. They're being canceled on the spot. Students are literally showing up on test day to take their exam that they've signed up for, and there's a sign on the door that says the test is canceled. And so they're being put in a position where they literally cannot take the test. It's not that students and families are being lazy and they're not working hard enough to find a test. They're doing everything in their power to be able to do it. But the reality of what's going on right now is that there's just no safe and effective and efficient way to require the test score. So many students are just not able to go there. So when we had our policy that we were test optional just for admission and not for scholarships, now we have this whole group of students who want to be considered for scholarships, which is one of the most important parts of the college process, but literally can't get a test. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere in their state. There's no one in their county. They can't sign up. They can't get it in. And so in fairness of our students and our families, we want to make sure that everyone can be considered for admission and considered for scholarships and direct admission to certain programs without the test score if they're unable to do it. And there is a new section actually in the Common Application which is the platform that we use for students to apply to the U, where they can talk about the extent to which COVID has impacted them in general in the college search process. So we're going to have some additional context and other things that we're going to be looking at to be able to look at the student fairly in the context of their high school, what they've taken, and also in the context of everything that's going on in the world today.
Okay, got it. That's awesome. And I know that we announced this initially, again, when we just were talking about general admissions, as it was a 2-year pilot study for us. It was not going to be right off the gate a permanent change for the U. So is that still the case? And if so, why a pilot study?
Yeah, so this is such a drastic change in college admissions in general, and especially for the U. And so, it's not like, oh, let's add just an extra requirement and then permanently make that change. I think for us to do this, we just want to see how effective it is. And so what we did was we said to ourselves, let's start with a 2-year pilot and let's just get some sort of long-term longitudinal data about the way in which we can bring in a perfectly dynamic, diverse, interesting, well-prepared class without having to require a test score. Can it be done? And so I think having a 2-year pilot allows us to gather that information. And then also kind of on the student success side of things, we're able to say, okay, we're able to admit this great class. And now that they're here, are these students successful? And so once we have a couple years of information, we can see, does this work? Does it make sense to make this a permanent policy? And if it does, we're definitely open to that conversation. We're not saying that yet because it's so brand new, but we all feel really excited about it. And so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to seeing what the result of that will be. So, okay, let's bring it back to our students right now who are maybe thinking about this, thinking about coming to the U. They're excited to apply for some things. What are some deadlines that our students and prospective students need to be looking at right now?
Definitely. So we operate on early action. And so for those of you who aren't familiar, early action just means you apply earlier than kind of a regular deadline. And so you get informed of your decision a little bit earlier, but it's non-binding. So you are not required to enroll, although we would love you to enroll if we admit you to the U. And so we have 2 early action deadlines. The first one is December 1st. And then the second one is February 1st. And so December 1st is our first early action deadline, but the scholarship deadline for consideration for all merit scholarships is actually February 1st. So we really just, again, so many things are up in the air. Our first deadline historically has been November 1st. And we just felt that was just too early with everything going on for everyone to get all their ducks in a row, to get a test taken. Now we don't require it, so that's not an issue, and to be able to apply on time. So now we're giving an extra month for the first deadline, and then all the way to February 1st for the scholarship consideration. So that students have enough time to know that these are our deadlines and to prepare to submit their applications. And something that we're really excited about is that this change, it doesn't really benefit any one particular group of students. This benefits everyone because it just promotes access and opportunity to students regardless of their resources, their high school context, different things like that. So students from all backgrounds can feel comfortable that if they apply to the U, they can be considered for both admission and for scholarships. And all those things will allow them to decide for themselves if they can get admitted and if this is the right place for them.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all of that really important information for our students and sharing that exciting update. I really can't wait to see what happens with the 2-year pilot study results. And to everyone out there, head to admissions.utah.edu. It's a great resource to kind of see some of these dates and information and apply for some of these scholarships and everything. So thank you so much for joining us, John, and everyone on the video. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.